the direct-to-video sequel. Any true Disney fan will already know the story. But for those of you not in the know, from 1994 to 2008, the Disney company had a pretty annoying habit of releasing either sequels, prequels, interquels, or pretty much anything else you can think of to their most popular animated movies straight to VHS or DVD. Now, these sequels were usually known for having a very low budget, resulting in very unimpressive animation compared to the originals, extremely poor stories, and were just generally the most bottom of the barrel you could get for a company like Disney. However, some have come to the defense of a few of these movies, arguing that they're not actually all that bad once you get past their flaws. But that being said, the defenses of some of these movies have led me to ask myself, were any of these movies actually good? Or do the better ones just look all the better by comparison? And today, I'd like to try and answer that question to the best of my ability. And there may also be some minor spoilers for a few of these movies ahead. So in case for whatever reason you don't want anything ruined regarding any of them, you might just want to be on the lookout. Okay, so just to clear up one thing first, I will only be referring to direct sequels, prequels, or midquels to classic Disney movies here. Spin-offs like Tinkerbell or Winnie the Pooh, or direct-to-video movies not directly tied to the Disney animated canon, such as Kim Possible or Mickey Mouse, will not be considered here. Alright, so all that being said, I have personally watched a few, though not all, of the Disney direct-to-video sequels. And I can certainly say that some were most definitely better than others. Really, the only good thing that can be said about every single one of them is the cast. Honestly, I will never understand how they got some of these people not only to reprise their roles, but take those roles so seriously. And one sequel I can most definitely vouch for its status as one of the absolute worst direct-to-video sequels is the Hunchback of Notre 2. The plot is almost completely irrelevant to the first one, the story is only one step above horrendous, and the songs. Good golly, the songs. Let me just save time by saying, Alan Menken said that he personally believes the original Hunchback of Notre Dame was his absolute best work on any Disney movie he ever did. And even if not, I'm not 100% sure he's right about that, I can certainly see why he said that. The score is nothing short of outstanding, and the songs are just some of the greatest music to come out of the 1990s. There isn't a bad song of the bunch. Even the comic relief song and the songs deleted from the movie have gone on to become beloved. It's honestly an absolute masterwork of music and movies, and deserves more recognition for Menken's achievements on it alone. And then we get the sequel, which has some of the most generic, soulless, and lacking in energy songs I've ever heard. Now, I'm not a music lover by any means, but I am dead serious when I say that even if you remove these songs from the shadow of the first movie, they still sound so bland that it feels as if the characters are just singing a cappella because they feel like it. There was no effort put into any of it. Seriously, if I was Alan Menken, I would be so offended by what they did with some of his greatest work. I am not joking. The difference in quality is like night and day. So, for those of you who don't know anything about this, that should explain to you in a nutshell why so many of those direct-to-video sequels are hated. they have a rather annoying tendency to insult their original movie as opposed to adding anything of value to them. But that being said, a few of them do have their defenders, with two of the most famous examples being perhaps Cinderella 3 and The Lion King 1.5. Now, in the case of Cinderella 3, the movie benefited mainly from actually having genuine effort put into it, as well as actually telling a pretty interesting story when the original seemingly offered none. Which is, in essence, that the evil stepmother gets her hands on the fairy godmother's wand and turns back time to rewrite history to her advantage, only for Cinderella to catch on and one of her own daughters to get cold feet about the whole thing. And the movie has also been praised, even by its detractors, for giving Cinderella and the prince more fleshed out personalities, especially with scenes like this. But on the whole, was it a story that needed to be told? No, of course not. But since they were going to tell it, at least they made it interesting and worth a view, unlike so many other direct-to-video sequels. And as far as The Lion King 1.5 goes, that movie honestly owes its popularity to its humor. Because the basic premise is The Lion King told from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view. And as a result, the movie jumps headfirst right into raw comedy, and does actually make for a pretty funny movie, as long as you're a fan of that sort of humor and slapstick. In other words, what makes this movie stand out is not only does it not take its premise seriously, what with Timon and Pumbaa literally watching themselves and all that, but the writers actually did a decent job with the movie's humor, making it a favorite among kids everywhere. And even The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, isn't actually considered all that bad, especially with a very memorable villain and a story that's not afraid to get dark at times, depicting Kovu's abusive relationship with his mother much more realistically than a movie of this nature usually would. Again, it's not considered perfect by any means, but many will concede that by direct-to-video sequel standards, it's actually pretty good. Only, that's the whole problem here. These movies are usually considered good by Disney direct-to-video standards. And considering some of the absolute trash they've released, it usually makes anything that's even halfway decent almost look like a masterpiece by comparison. So that then begs the question, are even the better ones actually good? How would they hold up to normal movie standards? And should they even be held up to those standards? And I'll be honest with you here, those are questions I simply cannot answer. They may either work as sequels or just overall decently funny movies, or they might just be average kid stuff that people wouldn't give a second thought to if their competition wasn't so bad by comparison. But who's actually right, or at least more right, in this debate is something I can't put my 2 cents in. Because simply put, I'm not a movie critic. I'm not even a movie expert. And I already know that any opinions I do have on this matter are completely skewed. So I can't really say one way or the other. The one thing I will say, however, is that we should all just be glad that they stopped making these direct-to-video sequels a long time ago, so we don't have to keep suffering through their mutilations of their original classics anymore. Now, if only sequels like Ralph Breaks the Internet didn't do the same thing, and that the live-action remakes pretty much took their place in that regard and made things even worse. Okay, that's everything I wanted to cover. So now I want to hear what you guys think, and this time even more so. Do you believe that there's even a single Disney direct-to-video sequel that can actually be considered good by normal movie standards? Or do you believe that they're all trash and that the slightly better ones only look good by comparison? Or do you fall into an entirely different category on this topic? Whatever your opinion is, please feel free to share it in the comments below. And thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate all of it. And I hope to see you all next time.